I'm the Senior Director of G4C Learn, and I'm really excited to welcome you to the next session. It's a transformative session with Dr. Shuli Gilutz, a leading voice in the field of children's digital media and design. Dr. Gilutz is the Program Officer in Child Rights and Business Team at UNICEF, and she's going to present Designing for Wellbeing in Digital Play. It's possible. Dr. Gilutz will introduce the RITEC 8 framework and design guide for business. She's going to explore the synergy between child rights and well-being and how these can be seamlessly integrated into the design process. With insights from UNICEF and the LEGO Group, this session promises to offer groundbreaking strategies for creating digital environments where children can not only survive, but thrive. Please welcome Dr. Shuli Gilutz.
Good morning, everyone. Hi, it's great to be here. My name is Shuli Gilutz, and I'm from the UNICEF Child Rights and Business Team, where we work with industry to promote child rights. And today I'm going to be talking about designing for well-being in digital play, because it's possible, and I'll explain all about it in a second. So, I don't know how many of you were in this situation, but your nephew beat you at FIFA. It was really bad for your ego, but incredible for his. You had a fantastic time laughing and shouting, playing soccer or football in other places, and rooting for your team. There were songs and dances, some tense moments, cries for joy, and jumping on the couch. And then he won. And even though you would have liked to say you let him, you really didn't. It was a day for the history books. So when you have moments like these, we know digital play can provide well-being, joy, excitement, a sense of accomplishment, personal connection. For some, it could be when immersing in this kind of experience, or for others in long magical quests filled with puzzles and strategy, and for others, planning and building whole worlds, whether it's Minecraft or Sims. It can be the time alone to dive into flow, or the time together to connect with friends and family, close and far. We know this, all of us here, because we feel it, because we play. How can we convey these ideas to others who aren't familiar with it and may be wary of gaming? How do we create more play experiences that promote well-being for children? So I want to share the RITEC project and how we're trying to do that. I work at UNICEF, and UNICEF is the UN organization working to advocate for and protect children's rights. And these are children's rights. The Convention of the Rights of the Child defines the basic rights of children. It's the most ratified treaty in history, which was created in 1989, and places primary responsibility on states. But it also acknowledges the accountability of parents, teachers, and institutions, business. And that's what we're trying to address with this project. So what are the implications when you look at the Child Rights Convention to digital technologies? Well, originally there weren't much. I mean, you could have kind of look at it and say, okay, there are some impacts. But in 2021, General Comment 25 passed and basically made children's rights true in the digital world formally. So now everyone is obliged to comply with child rights also in the digital world. And for example, that means the right to be protected from all kinds of exploitation, the right to leisure and play, that is a child right, the right to education, the right to obtain appropriate information, and the right to freedom and thought of expression, and finally, the right to privacy. So all these are part of the Child Rights Convention, and we, as developers of games, have to take that into consideration. And what is UNICEF doing here, and why are we part of this? So we're promoting responsible business conduct in the digital environment. We do it both kind of in a global way and in a short way. want to tell the people in the back that the slide have changed. Okay. So what is UNICEF's approach? In a global level, we work with industry to create tools for them to help them promote children's rights by creating child rights impact assessments or by creating guidance. But we also work locally with the different country offices and national committees which take those tools and translate them to many languages to work with local businesses to help promote in each country where we see differences, of course, when we talk about industry and about children working and engaging with industry. But this project actually talks about well-being. That's always a big question. People tell me, you're in UNICEF, why are you talking about child rights? Why are you talking about well-being? And I'd like to kind of explain what we're talking, because well-being is defined in many different ways. So it's related to child rights, but it's not the same thing. Child rights, as I just explained, are legal principles of how children should or should not be treated. Well-being, there's objective well-being and subjective well-being, is an individual state of how a child is experiencing life. And I'll try to explain that a bit more. So you can have all your rights and still not feel happy and hopeful about the future. And we've seen so many reports about children worldwide who are actually in developed countries and they have rights and they have everything they need, but their well-being is not in a place we want it to be. And the opposite is true too. Sometimes you have children that may not have all the things they need, but they actually are more hopeful about the future and have more joy in life. So that's why we kind of look at these two different concepts and try to understand how to support them. So welcome to RITEC. RITEC is a Responsible Innovation and Technology for Children project. It is an international, multi-sectorial, multi-stakeholder, cross-sectorial and collaboration inspired by a collaboration between UNICEF and the LEGO group and sponsored by the LEGO Foundation. So like I said, it's grounded in the idea that the design and development of digital technology should support both rights and well-being of children. And it's focused on, equipping industry and policymakers with the tools and the knowledge to both protect and promote children's well-being in the digital age. So we're looking at well-being as we put a spotlight on the child's experience. So in RITEC, we actually went out and talked to children and asked them, what does well-being mean for you? Of course, in an age-appropriate language. How do you feel when you're playing? And it's important to understand we're talking about digital play and gaming because there are many, many parts and aspects of children and technology. So why are we focusing on gaming or in digital play? Well, play is one of the most important ways in which children interact with the world and develop essential knowledge and skills. And there's a huge body of child development research to support that. It's also a child's right. So we know play is important. But what happens in digital play? Well, children, and any of you that work with children know this, they treat digital play the same as physical play. And they expect the same to happen. So if they go to a playground and play, they know it was designed for them. It's safe. They don't have to worry about it. It's for their age. It's in their context, in their neighborhood. And that's kind of what they expect in digital play, too. But we know that's not the case. So we feel this is an important context and a great opportunity to address this issue. The RITEC project is a multi-year project that had 4 stages. Originally, it was supposed to be a waterfall. That never happens. So the first 2 phases are research phases. The first phase, we went out to create the RITEC Wellbeing Framework by talking to children all over the world. We collaborated with many academic institutions, and this stage was led by Innocenti Office of Research and Foresight, which is a UNICEF group. The second phase, another research phase, it was to empirically validate the findings by exploratory research with children. So we took the framework back and looked kind of to see if it really holds. So in these 2 stages, We worked with 787 children, ages 8 to 12, more or less, and that's really important because what we're going to talk about is really for that age group, from 18 countries: Albania, Australia, Brazil, Bulgaria, Chile, China, Cyprus, Indonesia, Jordan, Pakistan, South Africa, Taiwan, Tanzania, Tunisia, UK, Uruguay, and the United States. The third phase is an internal LEGO phase, where LEGO, the partner in the project, looks at this work and tries to apply it with their products. And any of you who will be here around this afternoon will hear more about some of the things they find, which is really interesting. And the fourth phase is what we're working on now, which is developing guidance for industry. So we have all this work, and now what do we do with it? How can we help designers design for well-being in digital play? So these are some pictures from our phase 1 report, working with children to understand what well-being is for them. And we use, of course, age-appropriate research methods, drawing, discussions, to understand what they're thinking. In the second phase, we actually use 3 different research methods: qualitative, quantitative, even psychophysiological methods, to really understand how they feel when they play the games and if it maps to the digital framework we created. And we did a few changes to the new framework. So what is the Bright Tech 8 framework? Here it is. I'm excited to share our work. And it has 8 different elements that came up from the work with children. So when we talk to children to ask them, what do you think? Like, what is well-being? They said safety and security is key. So this came from children. They want to be in a safe environment. It's not something that we as UNICEF or any other organization come and say, oh, you have to be safe when you're designing for kids. They want that. And frankly, so do adults. And looking here at the Digital Thriving Playbook people who will talk about that later. But they also talked about additional outcomes that make up well-being in the eyes of children in digital play, like autonomy, social connections, competence, and creativity. So that's where we started mapping this out. And the first one is, of course, see the purple brick on the top is safety and security. So that's really kind of the basis of it all. And that's why we chose that brick. It's the standard. You have to have that. You have to have a safe environment in order to have well-being. The second one, is it going? Diversity, equity, and inclusion. And that's pretty obvious, especially to this crowd. So both in terms of accessibility, so everybody has access, but also in terms of just seeing different kinds of people in the world and their needs and feeling you have representation in the game. The next one is emotions, the red heart. And in emotions, we're talking about the ability to experience all kinds of emotions and actually learn to regulate the emotions, which is kind of counterintuitive to what people think happens in gaming, but really is a process that happens. The next one is competence. So it's about learning and also perceived competence. So when you understand that you're learning more and you're growing and you develop that kind of confidence. Creativity, of course, and this has been discussed yesterday many times by all speakers, and I'm sure today as well, where you're creating a space where children can create new ideas and get their imagination going. And we have relationships. When we designed this one, we weren't sure if it was somebody connected to 2 others or like a person, but you can imagine what this is. So of course, playing with others close and far in the same room online, but also sometimes it's just being on your own. Relationship with yourself. After a day interacting with so many people, which really what you need for your well-being. So relationships is an important part of this. Identities is kind of in the core of the cube, which you can see is figuring out who you are. Trying to kind of experience different kinds of identities and go through that process, which is incredibly important for all of us, but especially for children this age. All these come together, and this is the Right Tech 8. But it's important to remember that you don't need all of these elements. And I'll get to this point, critical point. I mean, safety and security, yes, you always have to have a safe environment. But you may just have one of the elements and kind of dive in to create that kind of experience and really create a wonderful digital play experience that promotes well-being. So, how does this framework translate into play mechanics or game mechanics? So 12-year-old Ethan from Australia was playing Legend of Zelda and said this: "The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom came out. I really love that game. And actually, I also think it's helping me with my school in a way. It's because the game encouraged thinking and a lot using critical thinking and stuff. It's because there are always puzzles, you need to create things and try to figure out a way around things. I guess the game was designed so that everyone would play differently and they have their own way of doing things." Autonomy. So we see from Ethan how he's talking about having freedom of choice, doing things his own way. And he also sees that different people do it their own way. He also has this experience of control and agency, which he really loves, to figure out the puzzles and continue doing what he does. So that's just one way where these game mechanics promote autonomy and help him with well-being. So for 10-year-old Liana, the need to be with, connect, do, and create with friends appeared to be central to her digital play activities. In these contexts, social connection was categorized by relational practices that included building and showing buildings in Minecraft, to receive feedback from others, and collaborate with others to achieve particular goals. So we can see how Minecraft supports many aspects of well-being, but relationships is a big one. So experience connectedness with others, manage these social connections, and whoever plays Minecraft knows that there's one friend that keeps ruining it for everybody. How do you deal with that? Feel that they belong and be aware of others. People do things differently, and this is what we learned through this game, or just one of the things we learned through this game. So some things that are very important to remember with this framework, and I can't really dig into it, but of course, we'll talk later about how you can read more. First of all, not all games are equal in terms of their potential to contribute to well-being. I'm not saying all gaming promotes all well-being for all children. There's no such thing. Different games may support different dimensions of well-being depending on their design. And this is critical. There's no one game that can do everything at once for all children, just as all children do not have the same needs. Gaming had the greatest gains in our research for children who responded to children's needs or unique interests. And this changed from child to child in different cultures. So if you're lacking something in your life and that game has that dimension in it and designed, you experience more well-being than others. And we identified in our report 11 digital play drivers, which are play motivations that gaming features and mechanics can support. So again, if you're supporting a specific driver for children that they want and they need, you are likely to have more well-being gains than other situations. But finally, the design challenge, and I'm talking to the designers here, is understanding what positive play experiences can look like for different children. Okay, there's no one play experience, and we know that from user-centered design and from UX, but it's even more critical when we look at children and well-being. Design choices and mechanics can support these. We just have to understand what we're looking for and to figure out which mechanics we're going to use to support that in the gameplay. So, how might we as UNICEF and the LEGO Group aid designers to implement design for children's well-being in digital play? So, we believed that we do that by working with the design industry, the design community. So, I'm going to go back. We reached out to 40 companies all over the world through our country offices and national committees and talked to designers and asked them, how can we help you design games for kids that promote well-being? And they were like, what's well-being? Okay, that's a good answer. We have to start by explaining what that is and what you can do. And we've been working together with designers to promote this. So we've had ideation workshops, and some of the people here in the audience, and build prototypes and discussed and tried to map out our different stakeholders. And what we found is that designers, managers, and trust and safety professionals are all very interested in this. It's a great time to be doing this work, so this is for all of you out there. But they're not going to read our 60-page research. It's just a bummer, because it's an awesome research paper. I encourage you all to read it. They want small tools with nuggets of information that supports stages in the design process. So if they're in certain stages in the design process, they want something that will help them now. They want concrete guidance, but also theory to back it up, so they can go and tell other people, oh, but research has shown. And they want examples and case studies to be inspired and learn from. And they want to hear from children because they don't have the time and budget to do so. So we started working on designing a prototype and sent it out to people, and maybe there are other people here in the crowd that knows that, from 10 design teams worldwide for feedback. These are the countries we worked with, and believe me, you cannot have one time slot to schedule with all these different time zones. So that was a challenge. But we got great feedback on our prototype, and we also collaborated with some of the fabulous people working here, both with the Fair Play Alliance, or their new name, which they'll introduce later today, the Joan Gans Cooney Center, and this is from GDC, where we're trying to work with industry to understand the needs and also how people will use this, and we're also going to collaborate with them. We are going to create the RightTech Design Toolbox. So I'm going to show you a little sneak peek before we're done. This is just kind of the beginning to understand what we're going for, what are those little nuggets we're working on to help designers. And if you have any ideas about this, please write them down, and I hope I can get your feedback later. So again, we're working to support the design process, so to create something that designers can use in the different stages of the design process. We're going to develop an executive summary, and that's not as lame as it sounds. But one of the challenges for designers was to get buy-in from executives for this kind of work. Time, money, just to figure out that it's okay to be thinking about well-being for children, and it's not hindering the business, it's actually helping the business. So that's what we're working on creating for designers so they can do this kind of work. Again, if you want to help with that, let me know. We're working together with the Digital Thriving Playbook initiative and hope to add to their guide a part about designing for well-being of children in digital play. We're going to have infographics which people can download, hang in the office, share, and discuss this issue. Again, without reading the 60-page report, you will still have access to these ideas, so you can start thinking about it and create a common language and vocabulary to discuss well-being in the design process. And we're working on a list of gaming features for well-being. So what are the gaming mechanics or features we can incorporate for well-being, and how we can use them? So if you're a designer or a design team and you're working on a specific feature, you can understand how that helps well-being or hinders it, and it can help you with the design process. And finally, we'll have this long Q&A doc for all the questions which we're getting from design teams all over the world, so kind of try to anticipate some of the challenges and what they need for that. So these are little parts of our RightTech Design Toolbox, and it's all work in progress. So as all this time, we're continuing to work on this and grow with our community of practice. We work in conferences, workshops, global events like this. And the idea is to really understand how we can have impact, because there's no point of doing this work if it's not going to help industry. So in that kind of line of thought, I'd like to invite you to join us, contribute your feedback, and help us make this a better project that could really support industry. We have this lovely QR code, and if you're interested in joining this work, please take a picture, fill in the form, and I'll send you an email, and we'll continue to work together. And you can inform our next stage, because what our next stage basically is more design community feedback for our prototypes, which we're working on. We're going to then finish the toolbox development and finish its production, and hopefully, not hopefully, we will launch the launch of the RightTech Design Toolbox in fall 2024. So if you have any questions, feel free to contact me, and thank you.